This was not a planned video at all. I just was reading several books this morning and felt inspired to talk about this because I think a lot of times when we are struggling in a moment, I like to call them a crunchy moment, when it feels like there's just either things up in the air or just a lot of uncertainty. And for some reason, when this happens, support helps. Talking to friends helps a lot. Having family there, all of it are wonderful tools and resources for us to not feel so isolated. But for some reason, when you're going through a crunchy moment in life, whether it's finance, relationship, career, maybe you're moving, whatever it is, something that you're going through, it feels incredibly isolating. It feels like all of a sudden we're teenagers again, back when our prefrontal cortex was not fully developed yet, and we feel this sense of, I'm the only person who feels this way, no one else understands. It feels like everyone else has it together, or not as bad as I have it. And it becomes this very isolating and lonely feeling. And you feel like you're just in it all by yourself. So today I want to do something a little different. I want to help us tackle when we are in a moment like this and things just feel incredibly overwhelming. And instead of just tapping into philosophies or mindset changes, I want to see if we can do some more embodied practices. When I was a kid, when I was younger, I felt everything very intensely. I remember being maybe 5 or 6 years old and seeing what was happening in the adult world, the arguments, the conflict. Adults didn't really include me in the conversations, but I remember thinking, I know so much more than you think I do. And these intense emotions would bring up crying spells where I just kind of wanted to curl up in a ball and disappear almost. It was like the first sign of wanting to escape, even as a kid. And when I did cry, I remember my family would call me like a crybaby, calling me that I was too sensitive, which still happened later on in life as well. But somewhere along the line, in my mid to late 20s, I started to realize I've become such a mind person. I relied heavily on my mind to make sense of things, to walk myself through a challenging moment, to seek new knowledge to soothe an ache or discomfort. I used my mind to run away. So, one recently, I was going through a spell of a crunchy moment, feeling very uncertain about my future. I started to get this influx of intense, sort of stressful emotions. It felt like they were heavy. And I saw it and took it as an opportunity to lean into it this time. And so for the last week or two, I've been practicing ways to witness those feelings when they come up and seeing how the cycle plays out, how they just dissipate on their own. So let's start with one of the practices. Reading from the book. Sometimes simply navigating a day filled with responsibilities feels like an autonomic challenge. These are glimmer days, when noticing micro moments of ventral vagal energy can help you stay regulated and ready for connection. Other days feel more open, with time to pause and deepen into the longer experience of a glow. Both experiences shape your system and strengthen your connection to ventral vagal regulation. Just a little bit of a background on this. So in this book, it explains that there is these three primary systems: dorsal vagal, sympathetic, and ventral vagal. So dorsal vagal is that like shutdown paralysis. You're kind of just defeated, and it's basically like a depression. You are unable to act or move. You're just shut down. And sympathetic is essentially fight or flight. So it's more activating. It's more action oriented. And ventral is when you're in a state of calm, confidence, and connectedness. So it's that kind of sense of balanced inner peace. So the idea is that we want to try and seek moments of glimmer within our day to find that feeling of the ventral vagal state. So when we're feeling, it's like a feeling of like, oh, everything's okay, everything's going to be okay. And this happened to me when one morning I was reading in bed and I was just feeling this heaviness of stress all over my body and my mind, just kind of like constriction. And I was reading my book, and I don't know what happened. As I was reading, all of a sudden, I felt this glimmer. And it was this sensation of this knowingness of everything is going to work out fine. Everything is going to be okay. Now, I don't know where it came from. I don't think it was what I was reading. I was just reading a fictional book. But I caught that moment, the glimmer, and I knew that with our negativity bias, we would quickly wash that over and kind of go back to the ruminating or the distress. So I decided to really linger on that glimmer. And the idea is that when we're able to linger on the glimmer, it turns into a glow. And essentially, this practice helps our brain continues to seek more regularly these glimmer moments, or these moments of feeling connected, calm, and at ease, or like things are okay. And they may be brief when you're going through a very challenging moment, but if you pay attention, they happen because there's a natural flow to our emotional system. It's truly like waves. And if you allow yourself to have these emotions and feelings move through you, they truly do run their course. Now, they might come back at another time when you're triggered by a stimulus, like, oh, the bill is due, and then you're reminded of all the other bills that you need to pay, or get a text from someone or see someone's social media and you're reminded of your heartache. Those triggers will instigate another wave, but if we're able to allow the waves to pass through us, to not push it down or to kick it away, to try to throw it out of our experience, then they typically pass. And it truly is a relief when you're able to feel that glimmer within that compressed, dense, negative emotion. So one of the practices is that as you go through your challenging moment or your crunchy moment, just throughout your day, give yourself, let's say today I want to have or notice 5 glimmer moments. Maybe you're walking outside and all of a sudden the way that the light's coming through the leaves just exactly right. All of a sudden you feel this relaxing of your shoulders, finding yourself to remember to take a deeper breath, and all of a sudden the stressful worries and thoughts just kind of melt just for a moment and you feel like everything's going to be okay. Now, when this happens, take note of it and see if you can lean into how it feels within your body and allow that feeling to expand, almost like if there was a bubble or a sphere of energy around you. When you catch that glimmer, see if you can expand it and turn it into a glow. Doing this practice, it's not a magic solution, right? We still need to take action out there in the real world to change what we need to change and to go towards where we want to go. But it is actively training our brains, our minds, and even our energetic awareness to notice these moments of peace and calm and connectedness, and to seek more of them, to pay more attention to them. It's kind of like, I've used this example before. If your favorite number is 23, you're going to see it everywhere. Your brain is seeking for it constantly. If you are into, angel numbers, you're going to see 111s and 444s everywhere. So practice harnessing your own ability to notice the joyful moments, the calm and peaceful moments, the sensation of like, oh yeah, everything's going to be okay, and linger on them, turning a glimmer into a glow. So that's the first practice. For this next practice, I want to just briefly introduce 3 things that I've been doing that's really helped me find that kind of expansiveness, relaxedness, and just feeling like a softening instead of that tensing, stressful feeling that we get when our thoughts bombard us with all the things that aren't going our way. And for purposes of this video, I won't go into details, but these exercises are related to the vagus nerve. And what it does is that it helps activate our parasympathetic nervous system. So that's that rest and relax or rest and digest part of our autonomic nervous system. So the one that I've tried a few of them, and the one that I really like is, first of all, there's this like inner ear part. It's like this little part right there in your ear. And if you just find a finger that fits in there and just kind of gently massage that area, kind of in a circular motion, just with a slight pressure, not too hard, not too light. And breathe while you're doing this. I like to do one side of my ear at a time. It helps me feel it more for some reason. Yeah, try it with me right now. So when I'm doing this, along with the breathing, it immediately kind of, I feel like a little bit of tingling sensation, but definitely like this relax and like almost like if there was a lot of pressure or stress up here, it kind of sinks down. Like, and another one that I really like is doing like peace fingers and putting one in front and one in the back of your ear and just kind of gently massage up and down. And last but not least, my favorite one actually is this kind of area in the back of your head, like right there, kind of at the base of your skull. Just hold on to it with both your hands and kind of just massage it right there. When I do this, I immediately get like the tingles. Just gentle, not too hard. Yeah, when I do this, it almost encourages me to take deeper breaths too. So those are three very simple practices that you can try next time you get into like a storm of just overwhelming thought and feelings and maybe feeling stressful or like starting to feel anxiety or anxious. The two ear ones and then the neck one, those are really helpful. There's also other practices too. You might want to search on your own, or I'll share more in a later video, because what's interesting is that there's so many tools and resources for us to help deal with challenging moments or feelings, but it's interesting to try and to experiment and see which one really works best for you and that you prefer and is effective. And the last exercise or practice I want to talk about today is a little bit heady. It's not entirely an embodied practice, but it is also kind of sensation based. So if you're someone that has anxious attachment style and you tend to sort of think of like a toddler, a baby reaching up to an adult and like tugging their pant leg or like the dress or skirt, like, hey, come, like, help me, like putting their arms out. And if you ever feel like you're in a crunchy moment and there's just no one to reach out to, and that kind of creates an anxiety in you where you feel helpless, like no one is there to help you and to carry you through this. A lot of people who had to grow up very quickly tend to be stuck with a lot of the inner child and never got to just be children. So those parts tend to show up when we're going through a challenging moment where you just feel completely alone and like no one is there to help. This kind of happened to me recently because I felt like I didn't have anyone to reach out to, and typically I would have reached out to my partner, but I don't have one at the time right now. So instead I instead of going with the anxious feelings of wanting to reach out to someone and to ask for help to soothe me, I relaxed and started to feel where in my body this sensation was coming from, and call up your higher self or your adult self, whatever works best for you. They're in there. There is a version of you, there's a part of you that is the sky and not the clouds, right? There's a part of you that is the ocean and not the waves. It's in there. So call up that part of you and see if he or she can hold this sensation, this discomfort. And you can use verbal cues or like mental thoughts and just reaffirm them. Hey, I'm here for you. I'm not going anywhere. I know this feeling is uncomfortable, but I can stay here with it and I can stay here with you. We can do this together. And just see if you can tap into that energy of like softening, of tenderness, of expanding that capability to hold this discomfort and uncomfortable feelings. I can stay here. I recognize this is uncomfortable, but I can be with this and I can be with you. And if you're able to not attach any more thoughts or energy to it and you just kind of almost bathe yourself in this soup of okayness, this reassurance, this warmth, like a generous hug, like someone's holding you, but it's you holding your own self. The feeling typically will dissipate. Um, and you'll feel a sense of ease return to you and sense of groundedness and more connected to your body versus a panic and a feeling like it's all up here or um, the burdening kind of starts to lift. So try this exercise next time you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. And I wanted to read some things here. This is from the book. It's a fictional book actually called The Sword of Kaigan. So it's like a fantasy book, but this quote really stood out to me. And it says, wholeness, she had learned, was not the absence of pain, but the ability to hold it. So I think it's vital too when we can find friends or loved ones that can be a container and hold that space for us. But I also think it's incredibly useful to learn to create and hold that space for yourself. And the more you're able to do it for yourself, you are also going to be able to do it for others. It's just presence. I know it sounds like kind of an elusive word, like how do you be present? But it's just being here, not running away, just staying with that uncomfortable feeling and allow it to have its cycle and allow it to pass. And then when you do feel that sense of glimmer, of okayness, of I'm fine here and I'm okay, we are going to be okay. And there's more possibilities. You get a sense of like optimism that's not fake positivity. It just feels like there might be other possibilities versus this doom and gloom, like all or nothing feeling. And when you catch that glimmer, see if you can expand that into a glow. And I do really believe these practices are helpful because it's real time and it's helping rewire our framework and our system to seek for that connection and that balance and that presence instead of reaching for the phone or whatever the coping mechanism might be for all of us. So I do really want to bring a more holistic approach into everything. So far, my channel has talked a lot in terms of sort of psychology, philosophy, personal growth, topics like that, but I want to bring it all together and have more sort of real-time practices together. So if you enjoyed today's video, please let me know in the comments below if you want to see more like this, and I'll see you in the next one.